Line 2 of the Budapest metro system, and it was actually built in the 50s, completed in the 70s, and it has a bit of a Stalinist sort of Soviet feel to it. In fact, all these carriages are Russian built and very similar to what you find in St. Petersburg and Moscow. Interesting thing about Line 2 is it's the deepest line in the Budapest metro system, and it has to pass under the Danube to connect the two cities of Buda and Pest.
I try to make the office work like a team as well, so it's not like, you know, I mean, you haven't seen me sort of with a whip at all here, you know, fishing or anything. We try to sort of work off each other, and something, I think that's something that's a real advantage that we learn in Australia, is how to work with people, accepting other people's ideas as well, and sort of being a bit more, you know, sort of pluralistic about things, and sort of, you know, we were definitely taught that you know, there can be lots of good ideas that you've got to, you know, you can't rule them all out, you know, and the other person's ideas can be pretty good as well. You can spend lots of time working, drawing, getting a building done down to the last nut and bolt, and then it turns out it never gets built. And then sometimes you draw a couple of bits of a sketch on a bit of paper, and it turns out, you know, next time you go out there, it's half built. You go, oh, I wonder. You know, and the even funniest thing sometimes is they've done a wonderful job.
Anthony's contribution is a double kind, because he's an architect and he's an architectural historian, or an architect deeply involved in writing history of Hungarian architecture. Besides being a researcher, he is an active, creative architect as well. So his works are, the number of his works are fortunately growing in Hungary.
The zoo was originally opened in 1866. It was a private zoo, but it went bust in the early 1900s, and it was bought by the city, and they knocked it all down and totally rebuilt it. And the entirely reconstructed zoo was opened in 1912. It's had a very hard 20th century, like much of Hungary has as well. It was almost annihilated in the Second World War. I think about 2 animals survived, one or 2 animals. And one of them was, I think, the hippopotamus, because its water was coming from the Széchenyi baths, which we've just seen, which is warm. One of the other problems is that in the socialist system, that period of architecture that the zoo was built in was regarded as decadent. You know, today you'd save a lot of the buildings that got knocked down. They knocked a lot of the buildings down. So since 1996, we've been involved in trying to recreate the zoo as it was, fixing up those things that have been left, and even reconstructing ones that had disappeared. So today many parts of the zoo don't look very much different in terms of the buildings as what they would have in 1912. So this is the elephant house. It's built in the style of they're Indian elephants, so it's slightly Indian in style, but it's got a lot of porcelain in it, which is made by the most famous Hungarian porcelain factory, the Zsolnay porcelain factory. And the tower of this building was knocked down in 1915 because Muslims thought that it was not appropriate to have this sort of tower here, and as Turkey was an ally of Hungary in the First World War, they knocked the tower down, and this tower was rebuilt when we reconstructed the building. So for most of the 20th century, you wouldn't have seen this building like it was originally designed and originally built.
Were you really a palm seed collector?
Yeah. I actually got to go in the holidays. It's great fun. We'd go from Mackay all the way up to Cairns, down to Rockhampton, and we'd go past people's houses, and the person I worked for, who's a landscape architect, he had a map with different coloured dots on all the houses as to what type of palm tree they had, and he'd go and ask them for it, because in palm trees, the seeds just drop down and rot, and they make a big mess, get caught by the mower and flung all over the place, so just a pain in the neck. So we used to get this big long extension cutter, put a sheet down around the bottom of the palm tree, and chop them off, and they'd fall down, and you have to chop it all up, put it in a hessian sack, back into the back of the van, and off we go. And at the end of the day, we'd strip all the seeds off, and they'd get packed up into packages and sent off to Holland, to the nurseries where they grow them and germinate them. Well, here's our mate.
Now he feels very at home. Fellow Queenslander.
My brother used to work in a wreckers, where they had 2 emus as guard dogs. Apparently they're really good guard dogs.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this little taste of Budapest and all things Hungary. We'll see you next time.
Stay tuned. After the break, we present World News Australia.